So let's go ahead and get started today in Vajrasana pose, which is sitting on your shins, if this is okay. If for some reason you have knee pain and this isn't going to work out, you can try sitting up on a pillow or putting it directly below your shins. Or if neither of these works, you can also come into a seated meditation or just a seat that feels good for you. So in Vajrasana, go ahead and close your eyes. And to start off, just connect with your breath. Start to slow down your breath to invite calmness. Yoga means to unite. And we're uniting our mind, our body, and our spirit. All of which are united through the breath. So throughout this practice, think about your breath, come back to the breath. And throughout practice, I suggest to practice Ujjayi Pranayama, or toning of the breath. It's an inhale and exhale through the nose, but you can hear your breathing. So when you inhale, you can hear yourself inhaling. And when you're exhaling, there's very slight constriction in your throat. As a result, you can also hear your exhale. If you're next to someone, then you should be able to hear them most likely. So if this is available to you, go for it during this practice. Good. And from here, open your eyes, creating a soft gaze, allowing a little bit of light in. And then start to flutter your eyes open. Oops. Okay, good. Sorry, my Zoom got a little weird, but we're back. And we're fluttering our eyes open. And wherever you are, let's go ahead and take some shoulder rolls towards the back. Just loosening up the shoulders for our practice. Good. Bringing your shoulders towards your ears and then towards the back. And then moving your shoulders forward. Good. Finding stillness here. And if it's okay on your head and neck, then we'll take a few rounds of head rolls. Just moving your head in one direction. Maybe trying to iron out any kinks you may feel. then switch sides. Good. And then coming back to stillness here. From here, let's make our way into a tabletop position with your palms below your shoulders. If you had a pillow, just moving that aside. And from here, tucking your toes underneath. Start to walk your palms towards you to sit on your feet. So we're going to do a little bit of intense toe stretch, aka toe torture. If this is too intense, you can stand up on your knees, or you can also bring your palms forward if it feels a little too intense. But if you can handle it, let's go ahead and come into toe torture. Coming back to the breath here, we are stimulating all of our meridians in the lower body here, so it's a great stretch and an area we don't often stretch. So we'll be here just for a few breaths, and while we're here, let's take a moment to stretch out our wrists. So clasping your palms together, make figure eights with your palms. Maybe noticing how the sensations in your toes are changing. And then separate your palms and open and close them a few times. And then with your palms open, bring each finger to your thumb one by one, giving your hands a little bit of a stretch here. And just keep going with that, bringing each finger to your thumb. Good. All right, let's take one more breath here. And then slowly release your palms towards the mat if they weren't already there, and then lift your toes off the mat, but don't move them just yet. Feel the sensation of the fluid, the water moving in towards your toes. Good. And then start to bring some gentle movements into your toes. If you want, you can tap into the tops of your feet. And then sit back on your feet. Good. And from here, bring your palms back towards you, towards the back of the mat. So your knees will slightly lift here. I have my fingers facing towards the front. This is an ankle stretch. And if it feels good, you can come onto your forearms or just stay on your palms. If you need to use a pillow here, or if you need to come onto your fists, if your wrist hurts, that's totally fine. And we're just holding here for a few breaths. So this is a stretch in the tops of the feet and ankles. Also an area we may not stretch as much. Trying to hold in stillness, allowing the breath to help us with that. You may also feel a stretch in your shoulders here. Maybe your shoulders are moving towards one another. Good. Hey, Rocky. And then slowly release here and come into a tabletop position. So Rocky, feel free to join us whenever you're ready.
Thank you, sorry for being late.
No, that's okay. And in tabletop, we're going to release our right foot back, and we're going to press our toes in our right foot into the mat. And when you're pressing your toes into the mat, you might already start to feel a stretch in the calf area. If you don't, try moving your heel also towards the back. And then if you'd like, you can try rocking back and forth here. We're moving our arms in front and back of our wrists. Good. And then bring your right knee back in for tabletop position. And then coming onto the left side, so we're releasing our left foot and leg back, pressing into or bending our toes underneath, pressing our toes, part of the ball of our foot into the mat. You may start to feel a stretch in the calf here. And then if you'd like, start rocking back and forth, if that helps. Good. Coming back to the breath here. And then making your way back to tabletop position. Take a few rounds of cow and cat here. For cow, inhaling, releasing your chin toward the front, dropping your belly. And then rounding your spine for cat on an exhale. Bring your chin toward your chest. Take a few rounds like this. Invigorating the spine, bringing fluid to the spine and energizing it. Good. And then find stillness here in tabletop. And on an inhale, release your right arm towards the ceiling. And exhale, thread the needle to the left, bringing your right ear onto the mat. Hold here for a breath. And we'll do that a couple more times, just a little bit faster. So the inhaling, your arm back up towards the ceiling. And exhale, thread the needle to the left. Inhale, the arm up towards the ceiling. And exhale, thread the needle. Inhale the arm back up. And exhale back to tabletop position. Good. Opposite side, inhaling the left arm high. Exhale, thread the needle to the right. Dropping down onto your left ear. Holding for a breath here. And then we'll do that a couple more times, a little bit faster. Inhaling the arm up. Exhale to thread the needle. One more time, inhale the arm up. Exhale, thread the needle. And inhaling the arm up. And exhale back to tabletop position. If you'd like to take another round of cow and cat, or another few rounds. Noticing how your breath has changed, or not changed. Just noticing what's happening in the body for you. And then from here, connect your big toes, bringing your knees out and sit back into a child's pose. Bringing your forehead towards the mat. Releasing your arms long on the mat. Let's hold here for a couple breaths. And from child's pose, we're going to press into our palms, releasing your arms off the mat. Tent your fingers by pressing tent your palms rather by pressing your fingers into the mat, creating a more active child's pose. And from here, we'll bring our arms and our torso toward the right. If it feels right, still having your forehead on the mat here. And then coming back to center on an inhale. And then making your way onto the left side in our active child's pose. Good. And then on an inhale, coming back to center. Pressing your palms back into the mat. From child's pose, we're going to make our way into a low cobra pose. So we're going to come onto our knees, keeping your chest towards the mat. Making your way all the way onto your belly, with your chest and head off the mat from here for cobra pose. This is a low cobra, so you're just gazing at the mat. Take an inhale here. And on an exhale, slowly make your way back to child's pose, pressing yourself up onto your mat. Good. Let's do a couple more rounds like this. So on an inhale, make your way to low cobra. Take a breath in cobra. And then exhale to child's pose. Warming up our arms here. And the rest of our body too. One more time, inhaling, low cobra pose. Chest and head lift off the mat, take a breath here. And then exhaling, child's pose. Good. This time on an inhale, making your way to tabletop position. Curling your toes underneath here. On an inhale, make your way to downward facing dog. Releasing your hips up and back. If you'd like, you can walk your dog by bending one knee, straightening the other. Good. And then finding stillness in your tabletop position. Just making sure your feet are hip width distance apart and your palms are shoulder width distance apart. To avoid any sort of wrist strain, press into all 10 fingers and the outside edges of your palms. Good. Let's go ahead and take a nice deep breath here in through the nose. And exhaling out through the nose. Good. Walk or step towards the front of the mat, forward fold, hinging at the hips. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Bend your knees as much as you need to in forward fold. Inhaling the arms all the way up. If you want, coming up one vertebrae at a time, like I did. And exhale to bring your palms to heart center. Good. Inhaling the arms up. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Step back into plank pose. Good. And let's take 3 breaths in plank pose. Wanting to make sure that our hips are buoyant and in the air here. We're also continuing to press into all 10 fingers and the outside edges of our palms to avoid wrist issues. We're also pressing into the balls of our feet. Good. Taking one more deep breath here. And exhale. Slowly coming down onto our knees. And then making our way onto our belly. From here, inhale to rise to cobra pose. Using your core to lift your chest and head and your back muscles. Bringing your shoulder blades toward one another here. Maybe feel a stretch along your shoulders. Exhale to release down, and then slowly press yourself up for downward facing dog. Good. Inhaling the right leg high. Exhale to bring the right foot to the front of the mat. And when you're bringing your foot to the front of the mat, if your foot falls short, so if my foot was here, I can use my right palm to lift it and bring it further. Just noticing what stance is best for your body. From here, coming on to your back knee. On an inhale, we rise our arms up towards the ceiling for Anjaneyasana. Holding here for a deep breath. stretch, so you might start to feel this in your hips. Maybe some changes in sensations in your hips. Good. From here, on an exhale, bring your palms towards the mat and slowly make your way to downward facing dog. Inhaling to plank pose. Exhale, knees onto your belly. Inhale to rise for cobra pose. And exhale, downward facing dog. Good. This time inhaling the left leg high. Exhale to bring the left foot to the front of the mat. And bending the right knee onto the mat. Inhale to rise up for Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Coming back to the breath here. Noticing if this side feels different than the opposite side, which is totally normal. Good. On your next exhale, bringing your palms towards the mat, making your way to downward facing dog. Inhaling to plank pose. And exhale for vinyasa, which is just the knees coming onto your chest and belly. Inhaling to rise for cobra pose. And exhale, downward facing dog. Good. Starting to warm up more. Walk or step to the front of the mat, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling the arms all the way up. Exhale to bring your palms to heart center. Good. Looking down and making sure your feet are grounded into the mat. You can have them about hips width distance apart here. On an inhale, we'll release our arms towards the ceiling and clasp your palms, except your pointer finger. Take an exhale here. And then inhale to grow your spine and arms towards the ceiling. And exhale, take a bend over to the right. Good. Feeling a nice stretch in the left side here. Inhale to rise back up to center. And exhale, bend over to the opposite side. Good. Inhale to center. And exhale to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. And we're going to inhale our arms back up again. Exhale, bringing your palms to heart center. Just a half salutation. We'll take one more like that. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling the arms all the way up. Exhale, palms to heart center. Good. This time we inhale the arms up. And exhale to sit back into an awkward chair. So pretend there's an invisible chair behind you. You're trying to sit in it, looking down, making sure you can see all 10 toes. And if you can't, then you need to sit back more into your hips. Good. Let's hold here for 2 more breaths. You may start to feel your quads, your core, your arms talking to you. Good. From here, exhale to forward fold and step back into plank pose. Take an inhale in plank pose and exhale for vinyasa. So knees, chest. Inhale to rise, cobra pose. And exhale for downward facing dog. Inhaling the right leg high. Exhale, bring the right knee to the right elbow. Hover like you're in plank pose. Inhaling the right leg high. Exhale to bring the right knee to the left elbow. Inhaling the right leg high. Good. Exhale, this time bring the right foot to the front of the mat. And we're gonna come onto our back heel here. And on an inhale, we're rising for warrior one. So in warrior one, our arms are up by our ears and our hips are square with the front of your mat. So if you want, you can bring your palms onto your hips. And if your hips aren't in one line and square, then you can always widen your stance by bringing your left leg out towards the left. That's totally fine. Adjust as you need. And then when you're ready, bring your arms up towards the ceiling. Bending into that front knee so it's directly above your ankle. There's strength in your arms. So if I were to come around and move your arm, I wouldn't be able to because they're fully in muscular action. Take one more deep breath here. And exhaling. Good, straightening the front leg. Making our way into a pyramid pose, so bending towards the mat. And then just holding on to whatever is accessible. Maybe that's your shin or your ankle or the mat. This is a slight modification on pyramid pose. We're stretching into the backs of the legs here. But of course, if you don't feel that for any reason, that's totally fine. It might be different for each of us. Taking one more deep breath here. Good, and then from here, bending into the front knee, bringing your arms back up by your ears for warrior one. Good, exhale to bring your palms towards the mat. And make your way to downward facing dog. Inhaling to plank pose. Exhale for your vinyasa. Inhale to rise up for cobra pose. And exhale, downward facing dog. Good, holding in downward facing dog for a few breaths. And if at any point you want to skip vinyasa and just meet us in downward facing dog or in child's pose, you're welcome to do that. Just making sure you do what's best for your body in this moment. Good. When you're ready, on an inhale, release your left leg towards the ceiling. Good. Taking another inhale here. Exhale, bring your left knee to your left elbow, hovering like you're in plank pose. Inhale the left leg high. And exhale, this time, bring the left knee to the right elbow, cross it over. Inhaling the left leg high. This time, exhale to bring the left foot to the front of the mat. Coming onto your back heel. On an inhale, rise up for warrior one. Good, holding here for a couple breaths. Making sure your hips are square here and widening your stance if you need to. You can always check the squareness by bringing your palms onto your hips. Whenever it feels good, bringing your arms back up towards the ceiling. Front knees directly above your front ankle. Good. Taking one more deep breath here. And exhale. Straightening your front leg and bending towards the front of the mat for pyramid pose. And just noting in your straightened leg, you don't want to completely lock your leg. So you don't want to lock anything. So what that means is there is a micro bend in the front knee. That's just healthier for our body. And also when you lock your legs and completely straighten them, it reduces a lot of mobility, which is not what we're going for right now. Good. Holding here for one more breath. And then on your next inhale, bending into the front knee, making your way back to warrior one. Exhale to bring your palms towards the mat, downward facing dog. Inhaling to plank pose. And exhaling for vinyasa. Inhale to rise, cobra pose. And exhaling for downward facing dog. Walker step to the front of the mat, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling the arms all the way up. Exhale to bring your palms to heart center. Good, inhaling the arms up. Exhale to sit back into your awkward chair. So this time on your exhale, we're gonna bring our arms by our side for airplane arms. So on your next exhale, airplane. And inhale the arms up. Exhale to airplane. Inhaling the arms up. 3 more times like that. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And last time, exhale. And inhale. Good. Straightening your legs with a micro bend, of course, for forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Stepping back into downward facing dog. Inhaling the right leg high. Bend the knee to open up the hip. And then if it feels right, you can make circles with your knees to work into your hips, just making it nice and juicy. Good. And then finding stillness with this open hip. And then on your next inhale, bringing your right foot to the front of the mat. Good, coming onto your back heel. Once again, on an inhale, rise up for warrior one. Good. This time, on our next inhale, we're gonna open up our hip for warrior two. Good, so feel free to make adjustments here. When you're opening up, you may notice your back foot is more at a 45-degree angle. Your hips are no longer square with the front, but they're open instead. Front knee is still above your front ankle. Taking an inhale here. And exhale. Good. From here, leaning towards the front for extended side angle. Bringing your left arm up and over. Trying to create one line with your left arm in the sky and your left leg and foot grounded in the mat. Holding for one more deep breath here. On your next inhale, reversing your warrior, peaceful warrior. Bending towards the back, feeling a side stretch maybe in your right side. Making sure your front knee is still bent and has integrity. It's bent over your front ankle. On an inhale, make your way back to warrior two. And then exhale to bring your palms to the mat, downward facing dog. Inhaling to plank pose. And exhale for vinyasa. Inhale to rise, cobra pose. And exhale for downward facing dog. Holding in downward dog for a couple breaths. Good. And then we make our way onto the opposite side, inhaling the left leg high, and bending the knee to open up the hip. If it feels good, making circles with your knee, working into the hip to help bring more fluid and keep your hip juicy. When you're ready, finding stillness with that open hip. On an inhale, bringing your left foot to the front of the mat. Coming onto your back heel. On an inhale, we rise for warrior one. And we hold here for a breath. Good. On our next inhale, this time opening up your hip. So we went from a closed hip to an open hip for warrior two. Arms are in a T. Taking a few breaths here. Good. Noticing maybe if warrior two feels different on the opposite side. And also just noting the alignment. We want our front heel to be in line with the back arch of our foot. Heel to arch alignment. Good. On your next inhale, extended side angle. Remembering to keep your shoulder blades stacked on top of one another here. You can gaze up at the arm in the air. If that feels good. Coming back to your breath here. On your next inhale, reversing your warrior for peaceful warrior. Feeling into the side stretch. Holding for one more breath. And on an inhale, making your way back to warrior two. Good. Exhale your palms towards the mat, downward facing dog. Inhaling to plank pose. And exhale for vinyasa. Inhale to rise upward, cobra pose. And exhale for downward facing dog. Good. Coming onto your knees here, connecting your big toes for child's pose. Take a rest for just a moment. Good. Let's take a deep breath here together. First, exhaling everything out. Inhaling through the nose. And exhale this time through the mouth. Good. From here on an inhale, like we did at the beginning of class, slowly make your way to cobra pose. Holding in cobra for a breath. And then exhaling to child's pose again. We'll do a couple more rounds like that. Inhaling to cobra pose. Making sure your elbows are in towards you instead of splaying outward. And exhaling, child's pose. One more time, inhaling cobra pose. And exhaling to child's pose. Good. This time inhaling to tabletop position. Coming on to tucking your toes underneath rather. Bringing your hips towards the ceiling for downward facing dog. Walk or step or jump if you want to the front of the mat, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Inhaling the arms all the way up. Exhale to bring your palms to heart center. Good. From here, coming to the front of your mat, we're gonna step our right leg wide. Palms are in heart center. And from here, we'll bring our toes in slightly. So it's a slight pigeon toe. Good, bringing your palms onto your hips. Take an inhale. And on an exhale, slowly forward fold. Micro bending in the knees. For a wide-legged child's pose, bringing your palms towards the mat. If they reach, if they don't, wherever they reach is totally fine. Good, holding in this wide-legged child's pose for just a moment. Taking a nice deep breath here. Good, and then bringing your palms back onto your hips. And with a flat back on an inhale, using your core, come back up to stand, taking your time here. Good, this time bring your heels in and your toes out. And bring your arms up towards the ceiling into starfish pose. Take a deep breath here. And exhale, bend the knees, cactus the arms for goddess pose. Try not to lean forward here. Try and keep your back, your spine on top of your hips. Inhale back to starfish. Exhale to goddess. We'll take a few rounds like this. Inhaling to starfish. Exhale, goddess. 2 more times like this. Inhale, starfish. Exhale, goddess. 1 more time. Inhale, starfish. And exhale, goddess. Good. Inhaling back to starfish. And then bringing your toes in again. Coming back to that pigeon toe. Bring your palms back onto your hips. And toe heel your feet inward a little bit. We want to bring our feet so that they're just a little bit more than hips width distance apart. From here, bring your palms to heart center. Take an inhale. And on an exhale, slowly sit back into squat pose, Malasana. So we're sitting into this squat. If it's really hard to sit in this squat, you can come up a little bit more and hold in more of like a, what is the right word for this? I can't think of the right word, but you're just kind of holding, it's in a squat, which I said before. So just a higher squat. But if it feels right, come all the way down here into full Malasana. Wherever you are, holding your palms at heart center. Taking a nice deep breath here. Good. And then slowly releasing as carefully as you can, just onto your sit bones, bringing your feet in front of you, legs long in front of you rather. Good. Take a deep breath here. And then gently start to shake it out, bending into the knees, pumping them up and down. Good. Bringing your arms by your side, flexing your toes, bringing some life into your toes. This is a Dandasana pose, which is still very active. Bringing our torso towards the ceiling or the sky. We're engaging our core. Our legs are muscular. Our toes are flexed. Shoulder blades toward one another here. Take a deep breath. And exhale. This time on an inhale, bring your arms up towards the ceiling. And exhale, forward fold. Just holding on to whatever's accessible here. Maybe it's your shins or your ankles or your toes. Holding here for a few deep breaths. Good, and then walking your palms towards you. Coming back to a straight spine. This time we're gonna open up our legs for a straddle. Just opening it up to wherever feels good. Actually, when I open up my hip, I started to get a little bit of a cramp. If that happens to you, just easing into it, maybe bending the knee. Or if you're fine in your straddle, from here on an inhale, release your arms up towards the ceiling. And exhale, slowly forward folding. And if the straddle is too much, you can also bend into your knees and then forward fold. Just finding which is more accessible for you. Holding in this pose for a few breaths. Good, let's take one more deep breath here. And then walking your palms towards you. Good. This time, bringing your feet in together and your knees apart. Bringing your palms to hold onto your feet. Maybe your palms come under your feet. Just holding into this pose. Trying to keep your spine straight. Close your eyes for just a moment. Good. And then fluttering your eyes open. Straightening your legs once again. Coming back into Dandasana, flexing your feet, toes towards you, arms by your side. Good, this time we're going to bring our right ankle onto our left thigh, opening your knee toward the right. Bringing your palms behind you, slowly bend into your left knee. Coming into a seated figure four. Once again, opening up the hip here. So just bend the left knee as much as you need. We'll hold here for a couple breaths. Good, and after you've completed your second breath, straightening that left leg. And bringing both legs to meet straight in front of you. Coming back into that Dandasana. Good, this time we'll bring our left ankle onto our right thigh. And bring your palms behind you. And then slowly bending into the right knee. For seated figure four on the opposite side. Maybe noticing if this side feels different than the opposite. Breathing into the sensation that you're feeling. Good. On your next exhale, slowly straightening into the right leg. Bringing both feet to meet. Bringing your palms in front of you, parallel with the mat. One vertebrae at a time. Make your way all the way onto your back. Your head being the last thing to reach. Whenever you're ready, bringing your arms by your side, bending your knees, bringing your feet flat onto the mat. From here, take a moment to windshield wiper your knees from side to side. Good. Finding stillness with your knees bent here. Hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a nice big hug. Maybe roll side to side on your spine. Good. Giving yourself a nice big tight hug here. From here, we're going to bring our knees toward the right side. Keeping your knees as close to the body as you can. Bring your arms to a T and gaze to the left. Breathing deeply into this twist. On your next inhale, slowly coming back to center, hugging your knees back into your chest. Giving yourself a nice big tight hug. This time we'll bring our knees toward the left, arms to a T and gaze to the right. Coming back to your breath. Good, taking one more breath here. And then on an inhale, coming back to center, hugging your knees back into your chest again. Rolling on your spine side to side. And then whenever you're ready, finding stillness, and we'll make our way into happy baby, bringing our feet up towards the ceiling or sky, holding on to whatever is accessible. Maybe it's your shins or your ankles, outside edges of your feet. If you want, you can roll around in your happy baby. Just remembering to come back to the breath here. Good. And from here, you're welcome to take any last pose that you'd like. Otherwise, we're going to slowly make our way into Shavasana for our final pose, releasing your legs long. Slowly bringing your arms by your side. Take up space on the mat. Close your eyes. And focus on your breath, focusing inward. Feeling your body grounding into the earth here. Take a deep inhale and exhale. Keeping your eyes closed, start to bring gentle movements in your fingers and toes. Waking up your body slowly, bringing movement wherever it feels good. Maybe moving your arms, bending at your elbows, bending at the knees. Do whatever feels natural and good for you. When you're ready, bring yourself onto one side. And then slowly press yourself up to a seated position. Coming to a seated meditation pose, maybe crossing up the ankles or keeping the ankles uncrossed. Bringing your palms to heart center. Let's take 3 breaths together as a community. First, exhaling everything out. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And last time, inhale. And exhale. Good. Taking a moment to bow towards one another, expressing gratitude for this practice, to yourself for